Hello, welcome to another video. I have an exciting video today. I am with my mom. Say hi to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
She's so cute. I am actually doing an interview with my mother. I guess we'll just get right into it. At the start of 2022, I extended a reading challenge to her. Do you want to talk quickly about what that reading challenge was?
Yes, I'm not much of a reader, so Donna's been trying to get me into this. So she extended a challenge to read one book a month, so 12 books for the year.
And so prior to me extending the challenge and prior to this year, I know you said you weren't much of a reader, but how many books would you say you typically read in a year?
Zero. I I read magazine articles, and I might read how-to books. So you don't really read from cover to cover. So I read bits and pieces throughout. So a complete book is just very unusual for me.
And so when obviously not being a reader at all, really, and then me extending this challenge, what were kind of your initial thoughts?
Well, I see how much you read, and I feel like I want to know what that's like. So I thought, okay, one book a month, that can't be that hard. And it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
So as you've kind of been completing this challenge, what's been the most surprising thing to you?
That I kind of like reading.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I used to just not get enough out of it to stay interested, and I'd fall asleep or whatever and never bother
Well,
finishing.
we all do that too.
Well, yeah. But
And I always told you, what did I always tell you?
if I find something interesting, I'll read it.
Ah.
And I did read some of the informational books, but
You read them more cover to
more
cover.
cover to cover. Yes. Well, I tried to read a variety, and you helped me pick some things to try to uh, so I can find out what I like, because I don't really know.
And in doing this challenge, we also made a goal to read. I picked one night out of the week, and that was kind of like our family reading night. What did you? Did that help at all?
That did help a lot. And then I began to look forward to it, and then I began to read outside of that time.
Did you guys hear that? And you even did stuff like, I don't know, bring a book with you when you were out and about. Come on. That's a classic reader thing.
Yes, and I bragged about that a couple times too.
So how are you tracking what you were reading?
I used Goodreads, which you taught me how to use. So
And what did you think about using Goodreads? Did that help you? Did it discourage you?
it helped me. I wasn't super good about keeping up with it, but it did make me. I was.
See, I'm like my mother.
It made me excited to get on Goodreads to say I finished it.
Yeah. And we loaded you in with your reading challenge, which I always like that. It kind of gives you a little bit of motivation, and, you can see if you're ahead of schedule or behind schedule or, whatever. And I think that always kind of helps me stay engaged too. So
Yeah, and I pretty much stayed on schedule all year.
you did very good.
And I didn't pick like big old books either, because knowing I'm new at it.
Well, and I was just looking at because now that 2022 is coming to an end, Goodreads, I showed you, has the stats thing for your challenge, right? So it goes over what your shortest book was, what your longest book was. It said your average page for your books was 227 pages, which
Really?
is pretty decent. So,
Good.
yeah. So along that note, I mean, the challenge, as we said, was to read one book a month, which was 12 books for your yearly goal. How many books did you get through?
I got through 12.
Woohoo! Good job.
And actually, I have 2 other books that I'm partially through.
Currently reading 2 books. Did everyone hear that? Another reader thing. Okay, so do you want to talk about your 12 books that you read in whatever capacity you want to go through?
Okay, I'll just kind of give you a quick rundown.
Yeah.
All right, the first book I picked was a poetry book, of all things.
Isn't that a brave thing to do? Like, you've never read anything, so you're going to pick a poetry book?
Well, when I was
Even
looking,
I don't read poetry.
when I was looking through the pages, and I picked this book because I'm a fan of the author, Misha Collins, and I was looking through it, and there wasn't a lot of words on each page, so I thought maybe I can get through this pretty easy. So,
Hey, whatever works.
and it was interesting. Poems are kind of like little mini stories, I guess. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd try another poetry book.
Okay. Good to know.
Next was a book by David Reed, Bobby Singer's Guide to Hunting. And this is a Supernatural, the TV series Supernatural. One of the characters is Bobby Singer, one of my favorite characters. So I read that, and it was kind of like watching an episode of Supernatural. So
I remember you saying you really felt like it was actually Bobby Singer coming
Yeah.
through the book, which
yes,
was...
I did.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so yeah, I really enjoyed that. So I got through that pretty quickly, I think, because because I enjoyed it. And then the next book is one of those how-to books, I guess. Herbs. I was wanting to learn about, herbs and remedies and health and all that. So I read from Rosemary Gladstar, Herbs for Common Ailments, and it was interesting. Some of it got a little dry reading, but I got through it, so that was good. And then the next book is a something else I like is survival and prepping, and this book is about a disaster and how they survive.
And this is a fictional book, though, right?
Fictional
Yeah.
book. Yeah, this is a fictional book by William. How do you say that?
Forstchen?
Forstchen. Yeah. 1 Second After is the name of the book. So it's about just EMP destroys all your electronics, and so the country shuts down, and just this
Yeah,
one.
you do like those kind of books.
I do. One little town trying to survive.
And that's a series, right?
Yes, that's the series. I think
So that was the first book?
That's the first one. I think there's 3 more after that.
Okay.
So eventually I'll get to those. And then the next one is another.
Did you hear that? Eventually I'll get to those. Another reader thing.
And the next one is another how-to book, Beginner's Guide to Chickens, because I always talk about wanting some chickens in my backyard. And that was interesting. It made me
Not one chicken.
rethink, do I really want chickens? But it was very informative, and
Which is what you were after.
that's
so.
what I was after. Yeah, do I really want chickens? Yeah, maybe not. And then the next book, you and I Buddy read along with the audio book, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist for people in a hurry. I thought he did a great narration job, and I probably would have struggled with the book a bit without him.
Yeah, it was pretty science heavy.
Yeah,
Like it was
science-heavy.
science heavy, but still
Still,
I mean, he explained it well. He did the real sciencey and then broke it down a
broke
little
it
bit
down for us unsciency people.
for people
so-
in a hurry.
Yeah, for people in a hurry. yeah, it was interesting and entertaining, and I really enjoyed that.
And he has a great narration
Yeah,
voice. So.
great narration voice. So yeah, enjoyed that big time. Okay, and then the next one was from Mindy McGuinness,
McGinnis. Mm-hmm.
and this is one you recommended to me. Be Not Far From Me, and it's has to do with the survival thing again. This young
Which
gal,
is actually a young adult one, so a
Yeah.
little bit different, but
yeah,
kind of along the same thing.
young gal who was a big time hiker and stuff, and ends up stranded in the woods by herself. So her getting through all of that was very interesting. I read the first chapter and then took a break because I was a little pissed off at the reason she ended up out there. But of course I got over that, and then I couldn't put the book down. So that was
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I've read some other books by Mindy McGinnis, and that's one of my favorites of hers.
yeah. It was
And just
very
knowing that you like that kind of stranded, I figured that would be a good one for you. So
good. Yeah, that was a good pick. Okay, and then the next one was The Test by
Sylvain Nouvelle.
yeah. That was kind of a small book. And again,
We call those novellas.
novella. Okay, novella. It was kind of, I'm not sure how to explain what it was.
Yeah, this one's, yeah, I would say it's basically a guy goes to take a citizenship test. and
Yeah, only
Some
it's
shit goes down.
yeah, shit goes down, and it's not your normal citizenship test that you might think. And so it was almost to me like
Like a practical.
yeah, like a practical joke, and
Which I know you love those.
I freaking hate those. So again, I read a little bit and had to put it down for a while, but then I got over that and got through it, and it was good. Not a very big one, so that was good. And then the next one was Margaret Atwater, The Handmaid's Tale.
Atwood.
Oh, I'm sorry, Atwood, yes. The Handmaid's Tale. And I was reading this right at the time Roe v. Wade was being overturned. So, I mean, that was such a perfect fit.
Yeah, and it really came back around with that, and there was a lot of people we saw marching that were dressed up like that, so it was kind of cool for you to be able to
Yeah, I really
understand and-
relate.
yeah.
Relate the book with the whole. Yeah, and that social media thing with Margaret Atwood sitting with a coffee mug that said "I told you so." Love that. Thought
Yeah,
that was
so
perfect.
that's probably the oldest one that you have on your list. I mean, because that was published in the 80s, so you can see how, some books they've aged well. They're still
Yes.
relevant today. That's a classic book. Some classics don't age well, and some of them, like this one,
Yeah, it was so
It's-
relevant, especially that month, that time I was reading.
you read it in a good time.
And being of the age I am, I remember the 70s and 80s when we battled the
Yeah.
whole Roe v. Wade thing originally. It's like crazy. Anyways, that was a great book. All right, and then
And that was one you actually bought at a bookstore.
I did. I bought that and another book at the Literary Leftovers in Battleground, Washington.
Which I did a store tour of that. I'll link that video in the description box below. That was a fun shopping trip. So
Yeah, and one of my first, because usually when Donna and I go to a bookstore, I go sit and have coffee and you look at books. But
have
now,
a croissant and coffee.
Yeah, now I actually look for books.
And then we still have a croissant and coffee after.
Yes, well, of course. Okay, and then Bird Box, which
Another good one.
another good one. It was really good. I couldn't put the book down, and then I immediately watched the movie afterwards.
So I haven't seen the movie yet, so
Movie was good too. I mean, obviously they change a little bit to keep you You know,
So
movies are different, but
you got some of the adaptation book to movie stuff, so you can now see, like, I always talked about the book to movies and
I never
the
understood
difference.
because
Yeah, the difference between the two, and
Yeah.
see, got a little taste of
got
that.
a little taste of that. That was very good. Like the book and like the movie.
And that's by who?
Josh
Josh Malerman.
Mallerman.
Yep.
Okay, and then the next book, another kind of how-to book. This is by Scott Cunningham. Spellcrafts, creating magical objects. It's kind of crafts you can do, kind of like a little of the witchy stuff. So, and I like crafting, so it was little projects.
And
it
that
gave
goes
you,
good with the herb book that you read earlier.
in the herb book, yeah. And it gave background and how to make the little projects, and so I did make a couple things out of the book, and I really
Even
enjoyed
better.
that. And that happened to be around Halloween,
Of course.
so that worked good. And then the last one is Becky Chambers, Psalms for the Wild Built. So this was another one you and I, Buddy, read along with the audiobook, and it was very good. The first couple chapters I started getting bored. It's like, what's happening here? Not much is happening. But as soon as the robot entered, then it was really good. And
Yeah, I thought the two characters, I mean, because there's really only those two characters throughout the entire book, which I think is a little risky in itself, because I think sometimes, in a lot of bigger books, you expect more characters to keep, the plot and the book rolling at a decent pace. But this only really have the T-Monk and the robot as the characters through the entire book, and that's it. But yeah, I thought those two together had really good kind of character dynamic, and they kind of fed off of each other, which was really good. And they didn't do much in the book, but it was just a lot of conversation between the two characters, which kind of kept the book rolling along and the plot moving. So yeah.
yeah, and you can really envision if this scenario really happened, this is how it would go.
Yeah, that's a good point. The author did a really good job about it, because I've read some other like robot books, and that was always one of my things. Is like, well, writing AI in a society like ours that's constantly evolving. Like at some point, it was kind of cool that she built the evolution part into the robot as you would expect it to go, Yeah. That was really cool. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So that's all 12 of your books then?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a classic bookish question.
Okay.
From everything that you read, do you have a favorite?
That's a tough question because I don't really have a favorite. I think partly because I read such a variety of different kind of books. So I can't say I have a favorite.
Do you have one that maybe, or even a couple that have stuck with you even this far after reading it?
Yes. I guess the Be Not Far From Me, the girl lost in the woods. I kept thinking back to that one for a long time. And The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Thinking back to that one for a long time. So those two probably stand out as far as that goes. But there were a couple of other ones like The Bird Box. I thought about that one a lot.
That's kind of a survival one.
Yeah, it is. And I thought about that one a lot while I was reading it, and a little bit after, and so.
Yeah, and you mentioned a couple times about the variety of books. I tried to kind of recommend you a little bit of different stuff, because you don't really kind of know what your niche is. So did you end up finding some things that you for sure liked or some things that you know you don't like?
Uh, I'm not really there yet.
Okay.
I think I'm going to continue reading the different kind of books. I do know I like the survival ones, so I'll stick with some of those. And actually, I got one for Christmas, so I'll be reading that in the coming year. It's
Oh,
called,
that's right. You got that from Dad.
yeah, by James Hunt, Shelter in Place. So I'm gonna,
And you mentioned you wanted to continue in that series.
yes,
That
and
one
I'd like
second
to
after.
the 1 second after series. I'd like to get the rest of those and continue that series.
And also, as far as recommending different genres of books, I also try to kind of pull in different style of book because there are a lot of people who prefer audiobooks or prefer Kindle over the physical book. And I know we did end up doing 2 buddy reads where we, had the audio going while we physically read the book. What did you think about the kind of audiobook experience?
I super enjoyed that.
Do you think you would do just an audiobook?
Uh, I really like reading along with it. I think it just helps my reading for one thing. But yeah, I like reading along with it.
Yeah, and I found that for some books, it can really help the reading experience, depending on, of course, how well the narrator does with the book. Even books like that are, from other cultures and, the narrators are kind of in that native language. So the pronunciation of, the characters' names or even places, it's like sometimes I have to stop and think about that. And sometimes it can kind of take me out of the story.
Yeah.
So,
I find that with names, I struggle to, get the person's name right, and then I'm never sure, and then I end up forgetting who's who because I'm not comfortable with the names.
yeah.
So then I kind of lose myself because I'm lost as to who's doing what.
Or sometimes the names are too similar or they're way too different, and you're like, is this the person that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally see that. All right, so probably the most important question of all. Do you have any books lined up that you want to read next?
Yes, I do. Actually, I'm in the middle of one that I want to finish. And it's by A.C. Wise, The Ghost Sequences
Oh, that's that short story collection.
short story collection, which I was struggling with because I just felt like they were trying to cram too much into a short story, and then I was lost as to what the heck was going on. And I thought about just putting the book down and forget about it, but I have hit on a few stories in it that I really like that went nice and smooth. Just seems like the more characters they try to cram into a short story, there's just too much, it loses me.
Yeah, and I guess it depends on how short the story is, right?
Yeah. So I will continue reading that because I want to get through it, and I have hit on some good ones, so I think I'm just going to
And you
finish it.
made it about halfway through, so
Yeah, I'm about halfway through, so I can.
that's good. All right, what else you got?
I do have, when we went to Literary Leftovers, I bought The Gatekeeper by Charles Todd. So,
Which was the mystery book,
yeah,
right?
mystery book. I did read the first chapter. It sounds good.
Mom did the try a chapter.
That's because I didn't know people did that, but you told me, so I
See?
thought, oh, that's brilliant. So I will be reading
She didn't pick that book, but
but I'm picking it later on. So, and then another book I got for Christmas. Well, The Shelter in Place. I'll be reading that. And then I got another book called Lies My Doctor Told Me by Dr. Ken Berry. I watch on YouTube, so I'm going to read that one.
I got you that.
Thank you. I like it. And
Um,
I got a few other things on my shelf and in my want to read. I don't know which one of those I'm going to pick yet, but
another classic reader thing.
Yeah, except I have.
We all have shelves full of books we have to get to.
Yeah, except I only have like 8 or 10. You have like 2,000.
Shh, don't give away my secret. Cool. So these are all physical books. You'll probably continue reading
Physical
physical
books.
books.
Yeah, maybe I'll get an audiobook with it now and again. We'll
Seems
see.
like you like to do the bookmark thing that I always do.
Yes, gotta have my bookmarks and my little friend who I haven't met in person, Braden. He sent us some bookmarks, so I got a little red gummy bear from him, and I use that a lot. And I like to use 2 bookmarks when I'm reading, so I know where I want to get to, and I know where I'm at now. So,
Another thing she got for me.
yeah.
Um,
And Michelle, Braden's mother, she's always very supportive.
yeah, she does virtual reading with us on family nights
Yeah.
sometimes, so that's exciting. And Grogu is always there reading his
Grogu,
book,
yeah.
but he has not finished his book.
All year. He'd rather fool around than read.
Eat frogs. Okay, so this is something that you'd like to continue with then.
Yes.
So now that you've completed your 2022 challenge, shall we extend a 2023 reading challenge?
Okay.
All right, so let's say, do you want to try for upping a book? We'll say 13 books in
Okay.
2023?
I accept.
Or 23 books in 2023?
No.
Okay. All right, 13 books in 2023. You heard it here first. All right, so that is everything. Thanks for listening to our interview, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.